Hey everybody! Happy Monday to you. Hopefully you're watching this on a Monday. If you're watching on a different day, I'm sorry about that. And hopefully your Monday was still good. As you can see, I'm rocking and rolling. Had quite a bit of content up on the site early this morning, and figured I'd hop on here. Usually, I have a little sheet over here next to me that I kind of read from to go over, to remind myself of what I'm going to talk about. And I didn't write a sheet. I figured I could riff 3 or 4 or 5 minutes pretty easily with just a couple items, and the first one being the hire of Rashad Samples, yet to be made official by Oregon, but Kenny Dillingham tweeted out basically giving him, very glowing remarks and commenting on it. And so I think you could feel pretty good about that hire, at least from that standpoint. And in terms of samples in Oregon, not very often is it, Carlos Loughlin leaves, right? And we all start looking for lists and names that make sense and this and that match up and pair well or whatever. And it's not very often that there's really like one that just, this one checks nearly every box. Like this one is it. This one's perfect. I think if we go back, a week and a half ago to when Coach Loughlin left for Ohio State, and you said, okay, who's the best candidate, realistic candidate that Oregon could get for this hire? I think you'd probably see like 3 out of 4 people saying Rashad Samples, people that actually spent any time looking at it. Samples just checked so many of the boxes. He's got NFL experience. He's young. He can recruit. He can recruit the state of Texas very well. He's coached running backs. He's coached wide receivers, up and comer. Literally every box that we know about Dan Lanning checking, he checked. So that's what I think of this hire. I don't think there was a better hire to be made. It made too much sense. It sounds like it came together pretty easily, and no disrespect to Kenny Dillingham at ASU, who's been very kind and respectful, since being there. It's Oregon, right? Sample's going to show up and be, have the Oregon logo on and be able to recruit at a lot different level than he has been able to or would be able to at ASU. And I'm sure Samples knows that. And I'm sure Dan Lanning's giddy about that. So I love this hire. You don't want to use the word perfect, but it's a phenomenal hire. It checks every box. And I think that Duck fans are going to be very happy to have Rashad Sample on staff. So positive news there. Football wise, not a lot, right? I know football's full swing. Practices are going. They had one Saturday. We heard Junior Adams and some of the offensive line group talking on video after practice. But I mean, there really just hasn't been much at practice, even for the 15, 20 minutes that's open. And that's by design, right? I mean, Dan Lanning knows, like, if somebody's injured or whatever the case might be, you can just not have them out there for the first 20 minutes and then nobody's the wiser, right? I mean, it's not his first rodeo. So, I mean, I guess in some terms, it's nice that practice is open because, I mean, Nick Saban has had closed practices. Kirby Smart has had closed practices. Um, so it could be completely closed, but yeah, I mean, we're not getting a lot from those first 15 minutes or whatever they're giving. But at least in terms of that, guess I can touch on this briefly because I didn't do a video last week. Again, I'm just riffing. I don't have my list here, but women's basketball, Oregon women's basketball, obviously the mass exodus on top of the poor season. I mean, it was a poor season by any metric. What do you do? I don't know what you do. I've always really enjoyed Kelly Graves. I think that he's been pretty candid in a lot of his interviews, but it's clear that something's not right. Okay, whether it's Coach Graves or assistants or just the way he's recruiting, I don't know, but something isn't right. Right? Obviously, you could see the product on the court is not what it should be. I'm certain he's aware of that. Oregon administration's aware of that. Recruiting has not been as good as it was at one time when we were all calling him 5-star Graves, which I think Mario Cristobal is the one that came up with that, and it was much deserved at the time. Yeah, and then you've got starters that leave, and I don't like right now. What team would they have on the floor next season? Like it would be a lot of trouble. So I don't know what the answer is there. I don't know if Oregon makes a move. I don't know if they can afford to make a move. I kind of feel like they can't afford not to, but those decisions are above my pay grade. So certainly an interesting situation, and I will be interested to see what happens over the next couple of weeks with Oregon women's basketball. Last thing I'll touch on here, too, two quick recruiting notes just because they're fresh in my mind. Again, I don't have my sheet here, and my memory's not very long. It's as long as I am tall, and neither one of those things is very, very big. But real quick, five-star offensive tackle Josh Petty out of Georgia, offensive tackle, has scheduled a official visit to Oregon in June. Clemson, Stanford, Auburn, Georgia. Those are the schools involved with Petty. I believe, if I remember, I'm going off my memory. He was either the number one or number two ranked offensive tackle in the industry rankings in the country. Really good player. That's really big news, right? Got to beef up the trenches to get through the big and through the playoffs, assuming you can get there in college football. Second note, because it's totally fresh in my mind, I just wrote about it. Five-star defensive tackle Elijah Griffin, also from Georgia, the number one defensive tackle, defensive lineman in the country, is expected to visit Oregon later this month for the spring game, April 27th. So that's a monumental piece of news right there as well. So you've got two five stars that could be on each side of the ball going against each other in practices. That's going to make them some pretty good football players. So just some notes. Obviously, there's more recruiting going on. It's hot and heavy right now. Steve Wiltfong, of course, we're all excited that he's with On3 now. That's tremendous asset to the site and a boost to your guys' money as subscribers. But Steve Wiltfong, it was yesterday or today, yesterday, I believe, made a prediction for four-star wide receiver Cooper Perry to Oregon. So the Fong bomb, if you will, for Cooper Perry on Oregon. And I'm not trying to throw any shade or anything, but I've had a prediction in favor of Oregon on Perry for a while now. So, that really strengthens kind of my position on things and certainly looks good. So looks like the Ducks could possibly be close to replacing the departed Adrian Wilson from the commit list with Cooper Perry. All right, that's about 7 minutes, and that's plenty. So I'll be back again this week, and we'll have more on ScoopDuck Daily.